This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and for the first time since December, I am joined by Paul Smith over Zoom. Paul, how are you doing? How have you been keeping?
Not bad, thanks, mate. Are you okay?
I'm all good, thank you. I'm all good. It's good to catch up, like I say. It's been a few months. What have you been up to?
Not much, mate. Just in the amateur gym. Just brought my lad down to train, so I'm in our amateur club in Rotunda. Just the usual. Now the kids are back in school and that, back to the school runs. I've been doing a bit of training myself and back in the gym, and I've done about 4 weeks and feel like I've done 4 years already. It's no good on the old body, but I feel a bit better for it. Just spent the time at home with my family, missus and kids, and my brothers, and playing the odd little poker game here and there with the lads. So all right, mate. All sound, thanks.
It's good to hear, mate. Obviously, you mentioned you're in the Rotunda, with your son Meg, just doing a bit of sparring. It's always interesting speaking to fighters when they've got kids coming through, and I ask them, and I'll ask yourself, are you comfortable having a son who's going to look towards a boxing career?
He's got a bit of talent, and I think he was always going to have a little bit with his 3 uncles all being pro boxers, his dad being one, and he's been around it all the time, obviously. And unfortunately for me, I think he's obsessed with it, and there was no way of stopping him. And I held off for so long, and I kept telling him no, and I'd rather him do something else. But then I thought about like the stuff we've done, and I'm looking at a clipboard behind it of all old photos from like early 80s and all that. And, like the type of life we've had and the travelling we've done just free of charge as amateurs alone, represent your country, boxing for your club, and the friends you make, the manners, respect, discipline, fitness, everything you get from boxing. I want him to look after himself and not get involved in any bother if it's there, because he has to prove a point, and that's what boxing brings. So he's got mates in here that he'll probably be mates with for life now to boxing, and he's absolutely loving it. He loves the competitive side of it, he loves the fitness and the health side of it. So I think I'd be doing him a disservice stopping him from boxing. So I finally bit the bullet, me and my missus, and let him box.
As time's progressed, has it gotten any easier for you? Obviously, seeing your son in the gym, and potentially, you never know, he might not follow a career in boxing, but if he was to pursue it, has it kind of gotten any easier on your own mind?
I don't know. I watch him sparring, and he's sparring at the moment, or he's starting in a minute, and I watch him, and I still don't like seeing him getting punched or getting hit. But obviously, I know it's part and parcel of it, and he's tough. Like, he's already shown me a little bit of that. He's got a pair of balls on him, which is good, because you can't really teach that. I think you've either got to have that or you haven't. So he's showing good little signs at the moment. He's in a good gym with these fellas. Okay coaches, like, listen, I drive probably 30 minutes, 25 minutes on a good night, 40 on a bad night to get him here, and the same journey back. And I probably passed 5 other amateur clubs. And it's no disrespect to any other club in the city, but I said to him, if you're going to do it, you go where we went, you go on the Rotunda, to teach the basics and the fundamentals of boxing very, very well. And your kids are more than ready to fight when it's ready to have them bouts. So I know they've got his best interests at heart. I know the club inside out, and I know they teach the foundations and the fundamentals of boxing very well, as is shown, hopefully, in the fighters that have come from the club. We do the basics very well, and be very well schooled. So if you're going to do it, you have to go there. That's the only really say I have in it. I don't really train it myself. I've took him on the pads a couple of times over lockdown, but literally I can count on one hand how many times, and my hands are terrible now anyway, so I don't like him punching because he's got a little bit of a smack on him. But I'll leave it to the coaches. When he's training at sparring now, I'm in here with you, or I sit in the parents' room. I don't want to interfere. Just leave him to it, and hope he enjoys it.
Paul, just one thing on the Rotunda I want to ask you about. I've only ever heard good things about it and how many great fighters have come through there. Personally, I've never had the pleasure of going up there to visit it. So why do you think it has been so successful? What gives it such kind of a rich history?
Mainly down to the coaches, mainly down to the ethos, or the way they coach the fighters. The standards that they set in here. Everything like around technique and footwork and the basics. And it's a rough area, Kurt, there, without sounding too, one of them fellas who came from the ghetto and all that, can't stand all that. But it's quite rough. It certainly was when we were kids, and you get them type of fighters from these type of areas who've got a bit big heart or a pair of balls on them, and they like to have a fight. And it's so many characters that have came from this gym in the past as well, and kids who may not have had other options, but boxing or bad or not really making something of themselves in school. So I think it's a factor of all kinds of things. I think if this gym was in a well-to-do area, if this gym was up in Formby or something, it wouldn't have been heard of. It takes that type of kid to come in the gym, and then the gym has to mould that kid and teach that kid the right way. And loads of little things with this club, what people who've been here will understand, and lads from other clubs around the country will understand. Like the relationship with the coaches, you'll never get the piss taken out of you more than you will in this club or in other clubs, and you'll give it back as well and bring these kids up the show. You see the stories about the Ingle gym and Brendan Ingle and his sons, what they've done up there, and bringing the characters out as well as being able to teach them how to fight, how to get fit, how to look after himself and defend himself. And boxing gyms are great for that, and this is one of the best in the city for a reason. There's loads of good gyms in the city, and all the coaches deserve a lot of praise for the time that they give up for the kids.
Paul, moving forwards and onto the professional talk, obviously Liam's getting ready for his ring return against Magomed Kurbanov. How's Liam's preparations been going?
Good, he's just been in here, he's just left to do his running. He's got to do his track work and his running. So he's walking about, and he's been in here today doing a film shoot for his a photo shoot, a film and shoot for the sponsors as well as being in here sparring this morning. So he's never out of here at the moment, but it's handy because it's only around the corner. And he's enjoying his training, he's enjoying his setup at the moment, and he's looking very good. We're all excited to get to Russia. We did all our visas today and biometrics and all the stuff we needed to do to get over there as a family and as a team. So we can't wait.
There's been a lot of talk, or certainly it was a couple months ago, everyone went a bit quiet recently about who's going to be training Liam. Just kind of as an update on that, what can you tell us about Liam's current training situation?
He's based here in the Rotunda with Joseph McNally and Declan. We used to all box together for the Rotunda, they're all family friends as well. They're still friends of ours now. And they recently coached Alexa David Price and the good coaches, and Liam's training here for this one with them too, and looking to try and further his career and progress his career with a very important fight over in Russia.
Obviously, I saw the clips of Liam out in LA with Manny Robles. I saw an interview where Manny said he would be training Liam. Do you know where things kind of stand with that?
You know what? It's all on Liam. I know since he's been back, things change and times change and people changing that. So I don't really sort of interfere with that side of things. And Liam's his own man. He always has been, and he'll make decisions on what he sees best. And I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know what's going to be happening with him in the future. But as of now, he's trained here. He's trained by Joseph and Declan, and that's what's going to be for the future until Liam decides. Liam's the boss, and whatever Liam decides to do with him and his management team is what Liam will do, and that's how it should be for fighters. And too many fighters have to remember that you're the boss. It's your career. You've got one career, and you've got one chance at it and one crack at it, and you've got to make the most of it. And whether that be a manager or a trainer or anyone else, I don't mean this in Liam, I mean fighters in general. You have to make the best decisions for you. And you're a long time retired, and there's not many managers or trainers out there who have great relationships with fighters after it's over. There's some that have got brilliant relationships. It's all different and horses for courses. So you have to make the right decisions for you and your career and be selfish. And Liam's looking after himself and looking after his own career.
Paul, talk to me about this fight then with Kurbanov. It's a very interesting one. It's going to be a tough one for Liam as well. A lot of people do fancy Kurbanov heading into this, especially because Liam hasn't fought recently. What do you guys know about him, then? What have you been studying on him, and what are you looking to exploit?
Listen, I have no part in the training side of things. I just come in and watch him, and I enjoy it. And I think I'll be in the corner or helping out in the corner, or just sit and watch it from the front row as we do when the brothers fight. It's not really a problem. But he's got a good game plan. The coaches have been studying him. Kurbanov, religiously watching everything he does good, everything he does bad. I've watched him a couple of times on the tapes and on YouTube, and I've seen what he does well. And he loves the old shoulder roll, even there, the way he fights. And it's not really that we haven't really seen out of the ordinary for Liam and what Liam won't have seen and experienced before. And I think a lot of people are underestimating Liam in this one. And watching the fight and watching the tapes, I can't see it, but that's okay for me to say. I'm not fighting him. You know what I mean? It's Liam fighting him, but we know, and everyone that's been involved with Liam or been in the ring with Liam knows what Liam's got, and I think it'll be more than enough on the night, and a good performance out there and a good impression left will stand Liam in great stead for the future to try and get another world title shot and get up there at the top of the mix again.
Moving on from Liam and on to Callum. How's Callum been, obviously, since December?
He was down for a while. I don't think that's any secret, really. He was very down after that. He was gutted. He lost his unbeaten record, lost his world title, lost his Ring Magazine belt, and he really wasn't happy with how it happened. But it's happened, and he's big enough to take it on the chin and move on and improve and get better, and he will do. He's been resting, enjoying his time with his family and his missus and his baby and his friends and playing golf as he likes it. And he was there. He was 31 on Saturday. We all had a little drink in his house and a little bit of food in his house, and that. And it was a good day and a good night with all the family together. So he's chipping away slowly. And I'm sure he's been in here with us and doing bits of training and getting back in and doing a little bit. And I'm sure he'll make his decisions and his next move known pretty soon.
Just with his kind of career, we was talking about him moving up to light heavyweight. Do you think he has a plan in mind as to how he wants to go about attempting to become a two-weight world champion?
Again, it's up to him. Without sounding big-headed, for him, he can do what he wants. If he'd said in that ring after the Canelo fight that he wasn't going to fight again, he's had a fantastic career. He's had a career people dream about, and he's financially secure and doesn't really have to fight. He wants to fight because he wants to see how far he can go and push himself to the limits and win world titles again, whether that be a light heavyweight or at super middleweight or 168 or cruiserweight. You just don't know with Callum. He's got the frame for it, but I think the next logical step would probably be up to 175. There's some exciting fights out there, and I think with Eddie behind him and the team, I'm sure he can make them fights and get them done for himself. And world is oyster if he wants to get back in again and try and have one last crack at it. There's literally no pressure on him whatsoever now.
Now, Paul, also got you trying to throw a few fights, so you just get your thoughts on a few fights coming, and one which took place this past weekend. Callum Johnson, somebody you'll know very well, returned to the ring, second round stoppage victory. How happy was you to see him back out and so successful?
I was delighted. We were watching it in Callum's house, and my brother Callum's house, and shouting at the telly. And the minge bag had to make me log into my BT app because he didn't have it set up in his house, his new house. So we were watching it on BT. And I was buzzing for him. My heart was in my mouth when he got caught. Like, he didn't have to get caught. But the minute he got caught, I hadn't really had a bet on the fight because I hadn't seen the kid too much. Just being honest. So as soon as he got rocked, I went and put money on the second, third, and fourth round for stoppage for Callum. And because I know how hard he hits. I've been hit by him before. I've done plenty of rounds of sparring. I've had some really good dust ups with Callum in the gym, and I know how hard he can punch. He punches stupidly hard, and it's only a matter of time before the pressure and the work rate and the power that he has will take over. So, without sounding like I'm going on too much about myself, I won a nice few quid off him, so I was happy. And but I was just delighted for the kid. He's a lovely lad. He's a really, really nice lad. He's had a tough losing his dad, and he took the loss of his dad really, really tough, as most people would. But he's still got a lot that he can achieve in the game, and he's very talented. His game, and in a shootout like that, I'd fancy him against anyone in the world. You've seen what he did to the Tabiev, and if he could have just closed the show there and then, it would have been amazing for him. But happy that he's back active again after a long time out.
He's spoken openly about his desires to face Joe Smith Jr. for that WBO world title. How do you think he'd fare in a fight like that, and how much of a kind of barnstormer do you think it would be?
It'd be a great fight. Joe Smith Jr. with all the respect in the world, saying he's not like the flashiest or the most talented of fighters, but he's tough again. But he'll give anyone a hard night's work, and he's world champion, and rightfully so. And he seems a very likable lad as well, from what I've seen on him. So a fight with Callum Johnson would be a barnstormer, as you say. We were talking about that fight a few years back before, obviously, Joe Smith had the title, and it was a great fight. I thought, it was a really good fight that could put Callum Johnson back in the position to challenge for another title or the same title again. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be happening now. Joe Smith knows, obviously, that Callum Johnson wants to fight him. So again, it'd be something else for Callum Johnson to get another crack at the world title, and there's no reason why he shouldn't now.
this coming weekend, Paul. We see Katie Taylor versus Tasha Jonas. What do you make of it, Paul?
I think it's a great fight. I'm commentating for DAZN, so I'll be calling the fight, and it's one that, like, I obviously know Tasha very, very well, and I know Katie Taylor well, and Tasha's a personal friend of mine and my family's, and I'm really rooting for Tasha in the fight, although I've got to stay professional and impartial, and I really, really like Katie Taylor. I think she's a lovely girl, so respectful, polite, a mum and a family, and a management team, Brian Peters, everyone's great people, you know, and it's a shame we have to fight for me personally, because I really like them both, but I side with Tasha every time. She's my friend, she's been my gym mate, amateur and professional, and I really hope she does it. I think she's got a chance to do it. I think it's a big ask. I think Katie Taylor is exceptional and has proven that she's exceptional. I think Katie Taylor has a lot of speed, which I think will give Tasha problems. I think if Tasha lands clean on the chin, she'll ask big questions of Katie Taylor. She's a massive puncher, awkward southpaw style. And I really think it's a very, very good fight, and probably for me, the fight of the night, what I'm looking forward to the most.
Derek Chisora, Joseph Parker headlines that bill, though, Paul. An interesting clash. How do you expect it to play out?
Buddy McGeary used to train me. He's my old coach. He's a friend. He came up to Liverpool to see me a few weeks back, and I had a coffee with him, and it was lovely to spend some time with him, and I've had a chat with him over it. And I'm not saying I know any of the tactics, I don't, but the conversation that we were having was pretty similar to what we were both suggesting, and I always I think Chisora's got to just put it on him and make Parker work as hard as he can, and make Parker come out of his comfort zone. I thought Parker was very lucky in his last fight from what I saw of it, albeit I only caught the last 6 rounds, but I thought he had a bit of a touch from all accounts, and they were very wide scores when it wasn't really that wide a fight. I think Chisora certainly got the work rate, the strength. I won't say the power as in punch power. I don't think he's a massive puncher, but if he hits you, you're going to know about it. That's why I've always liked watching Derek Chisora fight. He'll give you 12 rounds, belt to belt, non-stop action, be exciting. And I've always mentioned and said it, you know, I'm not comparing him to Joe Frazier, but I love his style because it reminds me of what Joe Frazier used to fight like, and the old heavyweights used to fight like. Action, non-stop, none of this waiting for one big shot. He'll throw 5 or 6 to land 2, Derek. And I love his attitude. I love the way he is. I love the unpredictability of him. And I really fancy him to do a number on Parker on Saturday night.
Paul, just in a week's, well, just over a week's time, we see somebody who you boys are familiar with, Sal Canelo Alvarez, return against somebody the UK fans know very well, Billy Joe Saunders. Does Billy Joe overcome Canelo? Is he the man who can finally beat him?
So he's got a style to give anyone problems. He's an exceptional fighter, Billy Joe Saunders, someone who I respect, my family respects, and I think he's a quality fighter, as I've said. But I think Canelo Alvarez, after watching him up close a couple of times now against both my brothers and seeing how he works and studying him and watching everything that he does, I just think he finds a way with anyone up to, you know, anyone a super middle and super welter or light middle as they call it, and 154 to 168, even some of them or most of them at 175. I can't see any of them really having an answer for Canelo, and I think it'll be tricky for a few rounds for Canelo, and I think he probably will find a way. Unfortunately for Billy Joe Saunders, that is, you know, but I really like him, Billy Joe, you know, and I would like to see him do it because, you know, he's one of our own, and I really will be getting behind him and watching it. And I think it's a great fight, and I'm just happy seeing these fights being made. The fight against Callum, the fight against Billy Joe. You know, I hope to see the planned fight later on for the other title, and you can see Canelo is staying true to his word. He wants to fight the best, and we always thought that, you know, it's okay saying that, but let's see if it happens. He's saying he wants to fight the best. He's fighting the 4 best super middleweights in the world, and he's called them out, and he's made sure he does it. So every credit to the man. He's the face of boxing, and let's hope Billy Joe can do what Tyson Fury did and upset the odds.
And finally, Paul, as you know, somebody who works for DAZN, somebody who I enjoy listening to your commentary as well. There's a lot of talk at the minute, mate, about a potential deal between Matchroom and DAZN once the Sky broadcast deal comes to an end. Just your thoughts on it, if that does come to fruition, and where it can leave Sky?
Listen, I used to obviously do a lot for Sky, and Adam's a friend and someone who I've always had a lot of time for and will always keep in touch with. for me, the Sky work just wasn't working out for me, and it was like I just didn't really like how it was going, and I didn't like how the feedback I was getting. It was just, for me, you've got to say what you're seeing when you commentate. You've got to tell the truth. You've got to say what's happening in front of you, and that's how I like it. And that's how everyone does it. I think Macron's brilliant. I've always said that. I'm not being biased because he's a friend. He's one of my best friends in boxing, if not my best friend outside my brothers in boxing. I think he's a talented fighter, but boxing brain-wise, he can read the fight very, very well. And I rate him a lot. And I think I can do that myself. And I think there's a couple of others, but over the years and over the time, we just wasn't seeing enough of the people who could really say it. And that's down to Sky. But with regards to like Eddie, Sky took a gamble many years ago, letting every other promoter go and putting all their eggs in one basket with Eddie. And it certainly paid off. And it showed you how good Eddie is as a promoter. And he took the baton from Barry and excelled in it. And Barry did, in my opinion, without putting Barry down. Barry's a brilliant promoter and has been great over the years. And as has been mentioned in the past, a lot of the ethos and a lot of the methods and their ways was built on honesty and integrity and just being upfront with the fighters. And it was a breath of fresh air, but look where it's got them and look where it is now. They're taking over and they're doing absolutely brilliant. With regards to the DAZN, they mean business and the big players and they're taking over. There's literally no HBO left in boxing in the United States anymore, and I never thought I'd ever say that. And I think Sky can recover from this. I think they should recover from this. I don't think it's the end of Sky Boxing or Sky Sports Boxing. I think there's a lot of other good promoters in the country that they can now go back to the old ways, which I expect them to do, and start bidding on other fighters. You save me up your best show, you be your best show, and we'll buy one for the Friday fight night or Saturday fight nights. I think ringside coming off here wasn't really good. I think it was a great show. I think there's a big demand for it. People want to hear just an hour or two of boxing chat every month, even if it was just a monthly show. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes at Sky, which not many people will know about. The football takes up a lot of the money. The other sports will always dwarf boxing because it's not the household sport. It's not like the second sport in the country anymore, and that's expected. But with regards to the DAZN, for me, they're a breath of fresh air. It's nice to be working with a company like them at the moment, and very professional outfit. Only going to get better. They've had a couple of teething problems, but if the deal comes off in July and they take over the boxing for Matchroom Boxing, then for Matchroom, the sky's the limit. For the DAZN, the sky's the limit. I think it's a great move for them, and one that will certainly benefit Eddie and the fighters, because financially it's going to make a lot of sense, as well as public exposure. I think the DAZN as an app is a great idea. £2 a month, and you've got access to all the top fights all around the world, especially all the Matchroom fights. Even if that is going to rise a little bit, which you probably will, I imagine, it's not going to be an extortion. It's not just you have to buy Sky to have it, or you have to buy BT to have it. You just need to get on your phone or your television and you cancel anytime you like. And I think that nowadays is a breath of fresh air as well. So again, I think all in all, it's a great idea and a great move for boxing.
Paul, we'll leave that there now. Leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. I appreciate your time, mate. It's a pleasure to catch up with you, and I'll speak to you again soon, mate. Hopefully, I'll see you all. Thank you. Thank you, speaking to Boxing.
Take care, mate. Thank you.